Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. My name is Muhammad Amir Hassan Basri bin Muhammad Rafi and my partner Adam Sufi bin Abdul Aziz. Today, our group will be presenting on a topic that is extremely important yet often overlooked in our society, which is suicide rate in Malaysia. This presentation is part of our IMLCC402 courses under the supervision of our lecturer Mr. Amir bin Abdul Rahman. We choose this topic because we believe that raising awareness about suicide and mental health is crucial, not just for academic purpose, but for the well-being of our society. Let's start looking at the purpose of why we choose this topic. The first purpose is to identify the number of suicide rate in Malaysia, plus to analyze the rate of suicide with other countries. The first issue that we brought to you is suicide remain one of the major public health problems in Malaysia. The factor of or main reasons such like mental health issue, family and relationship problem, financial stress and academic pressure contribute to lead suicide happen in Malaysia. Suicide can be increasingly in the facts like age, sex and ethnicity. There are few examples that we find in the internet about issue suicide that happened in Malaysia until today.
Now, let's talk about the background. Suicide is defined as the act of intentionally taking one's own life. It is a complex issue with many underlying causes. Some of these causes include psychological factors like depression or schizophrenia, social issues like loneliness, bullying, or discrimination. Next, environmental stresses such as work pressure, financial hardship, or academic failure. Sometimes individual may feel so overwhelmed that they believe suicide is the only way out. They may feel helpless, hopeless, or emotionally numb. It's important to remember that suicide doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, or social status. So this brings us to the central idea of our presentation. The growing numbers of suicides in Malaysia and the challenges surrounding mental health show that we need more understanding, more empathy, and more action. We must shift our perspective and treat mental health with the same seriousness as physical health. Only then can we reduce stigma, encourage open discussions, and support those who are struggling. The impact of suicide goes beyond the individual. It leaves a deep emotional toll on families, friends, and communities. Let's explore some of the broader impacts. Firstly, we have university students. Many are at a vulnerable stage in life, dealing with pressure, homesickness, or identity issues. Suicide among students can cause shock and trauma on campus. Second, gender disparity. There is a significant difference between male and female suicide rates, which we will explain later. And next, mental health crisis in Asia. Across the region, countries are recognizing that mental health is a growing issue, and suicide is one of the most alarming symptoms. After that, need for targeted mental health approaches. One of size fits all strategies don't work. Mental health solution must be customized to fit different communities and cultures. Last but not least, rising national concern. Suicide is no longer a hidden problem. It is being discussed more publicly, but more still needs to be done. Next slide.
Now, I would like to present the first graph, which is the line chart. The line chart source from Department WHO World Health Organization Global Health estimate in 2021 mentioned suicide rate 2000 to 2090. This line chart identifies the number of suicide rate in Malaysia between 2000 to 2019 for both gender, male and female. Furthermore, overall for both gender, suicide rate declined from 2003 to 2030 and rate increased again from 2030 to 2090. Not only that, data that been collected show that males was the highest suicide rate among all groups. On the other hand, female was the lowest suicide rate, thus no major increase after 2030.
So we go to chart 2. This bar chart compares suicide rates across several Asian countries. As you can see, Singapore has the highest suicide rate at 8.3 per 100,000 people. This might surprise some as Singapore is a developed and prosperous country, but it reminds us that wealth doesn't equal mental health. Malaysia falls somewhere in the middle with moderate suicide rates. Countries like Myanmar, Brunei, and the Philippines report lower suicide rates. This could be due to stronger religious or cultural values or closer community bonds, or it could reflect underreporting since suicide is still taboo in many of these places. This chart helps us see that suicide is not just Malaysian issue. It's a regional concern and every country needs a tailored strategy to address it. Yes. Next slide. For the conclusion, to wrap up our presentation, let's take a look at the conclusion and the initiative that are necessary to address the increasing suicide rate in Malaysia. This rise in suicide cases is not just a statistic. It reflects a deeper mental health crisis that affect people from all walks of life. That's must that's why we must take proactive and collective steps to address it. First, the government plays a critical role. Authorities should strengthen national mental health and suicide prevention programs. This can be by this can be done by improving access to mental health services, especially in rural areas, providing proper training for medical and educational professionals, creating safe, open spaces where people can express themselves without fear or judgment. And next, reducing the stigma around mental illness through public campaigns. And importantly, adapting policies to fit the local cultural and social context. Secondly, society as a whole must change the way we view mental health. We need to be more open and supportive when it comes to talking about our struggles. We should show empathy to those who are suffering and encourage them to seek professional help. It's also important to learn how to recognize the signs of depression or suicidal thought in others so that we can offer help before it's too late. Most of all, we must reduce judgment and stop treating mental illness as a personal weakness. In conclusion, preventing suicide is a shared responsibility. If the government, healthcare system, educators, communities, and individuals all take part, we can build a more compassionate and mentally healthy Malaysia. Thank you. Next slide.
And last but not least, this is our reference. Thank you and bye bye.